think it's working. Holy fuck. Alright. I think I told... I don't know if I wrote it on my Instagram account. I was going live at 10, but I just started working and figured why the fuck not. I think it's too early for most people. I think everyone's watching this on DVR, if they are watching this, so... don't be mad. This isn't a professional production. I just find myself like, why the fuck am I waiting? Like, I tried to schedule out 10:30. I thought I was going to do something else this morning. I did not. I don't know, man. I don't live by a set schedule, so to pretend I'm going to do live streams on a schedule is just ridiculous. Yeah, I think I have analytics up. I don't know, man. But today I am going to start looking at how I can use Davinci Resolve in my photo editing process. It's weird, and I'm trying to be kind of tepid with like how quickly I jump into this shit. My first intention is always just to like, fuck it, like let's just go for it. And then I'll start re-editing my whole catalog, and then I'll find something I don't like about it. Like one of the things I did was like doing a bunch of like negative clarity things, adding a lot of different layers on top of shit in order to achieve the film look or characteristics of film. I think I need to be specific with my nomenclature in terms of like what I'm trying to do. Because I think you start tossing around the words like film emulation, like people get their panties in a bunch about it. Saying like, that's not how XYZ works. Like the film celluloid doesn't react like that. Like, you know what? I don't fucking care. Like if I wanted film bad enough, I'd go fucking pick up a film camera. I personally like characteristics of film. And I don't know if that's like by just random chance. I think digital is great in so many ways, but it also is stale in so many ways. It just feels like it lacks any soul, and it sounds cliche to say that shit, but I don't know. Like, if you look at, like, everything that's got, like, a human element to it, like, it's not perfect. I keep coming back to it, but it's like Jay Dilla's drums. Like, they were just not quantized. Like, yes, you can set stuff to a grid and you can have it very precise, but it's going to be boring as fuck after a while. And that's my opinion. Again, like, I feel like I have to say this, that this is all just my personal opinion. Like, feel free to disagree. By all means. I don't think this is for everyone, but this is kind of what I want to do with my... losing my train of thought as I'm fucking around with this Stream Deck, which actually works, and I'll probably pop in and start doing some icons and stuff for it. It's crazy how well it can work into my workflow, but I haven't fully adopted it because I haven't quite got it right, but that's a random aside. So I think I should just get to it instead of just rambling. I think, yes, desktop. I'm actually showing my screen. Am I muted? Thank fuck, I'm not muted. All right, getting this done. So, I gotta stop complaining about all this shit that like just bugs me. So I think kind of walking through the journey of like what I've been doing, why I've been doing it, might be useful. So this is the original image. It's just like in New York. Like, I've been to New York twice and I love it. I wish I shot more when I was there, but Um, yeah, I don't get a lot of chance to shoot stuff like this. Regardless, I think I have like an old edit pulled up of like, this is what I did back in the day in Lightroom. And I think it's interesting to see the differences. I think I was always skewing towards like the magenta side of things. I don't think that's super relevant. I'm happy to talk about kind of personal tastes and how that evolves. Um, that's something else entirely. But what I think I've always been trying to do is get at the film emulation side of things. Not totally accurate, but some of the characteristics of it. I think I'm going to keep making that distinction. And for me, that just some of that is the film grain, which I think you can see is pretty prevalent through here. And then looking at just destroying some of those details. I think that's the main thing for me is like especially with like the tack sharp Sony lenses, like how those get so just overwhelming with detail. And it's like it's great. I said this on a previous stream, like having that detail as like a starting point is super valuable. Because then you can control like what you destroy, how much you destroy. I don't know if it's so much destroying as much as like downplaying. Um, because for me, again, gonna caveat this, it's not so much like there are shots that are dependent on the details, very much so. Um, they are like a shot can only be impressive. Like very specific shots can only be impressive because of the details of it. Like wow, like look at the details of all of that crazy stuff going on with whatever it is. Like the second you start destroying that, it just kind of becomes like this. It destroys the value of the image. So this isn't like a one size fits all approach, but I think for me, I don't tend to shoot stuff like that. Um, I can make the case that that's not totally accurate. Where I think they're across the board. You should be able to just knock down details and still be fine. But that's my opinion on it. I don't know if I'm doing too much rambling about this shit, but basically, like as I've evolved so this is done in Lightroom. I think there's nice bits about the grain going on. I think some of the softening's all right. I think these highlights are way too harsh. This picture in particular, like these are blowouts. Like I should have stopped it down. Again, I've been doing a little bit of research on like the various differences. I mean, I've always known highlights and digital are just unrecoverable for the most part. Digital can work with shadows a lot better, but like with film, when you start recovering shadows, it's interesting how it's the opposite. Like recovering shadows on film, from what I understand, because I never shoot film, is that you can extract a lot more data out of there. Or no, you can't with shadows. You can with highlights, but with digital, you can't extract a lot from highlights, but you can from shadows. So that's why everyone who shoots digital, including myself, stops things down and tends to expose for the highlights at most points, because you can just recover things so easily. And I think that's another topic altogether of like how much to recover. I like me and my stupid fucking brain always like looks at stuff out on the gram, and again, it's just personal preference. But for me, it's like people don't. It's like they don't know how to represent shadows. It's like sending out an APB for fucking shadows on these people's pictures. And this is like how stupid my brain is. Like, that is the dumbest shit. But that's what, like, I look at it, I'm like, cool, I could see, like, every detail in the shadows. Like, I don't know. It just starts sounding pretentious when I start talking about this stuff, so I'm probably going to stop right there. To each their own, do your own thing. For me, shadows are important. If you see everything, then I'm not gonna say you see nothing. That just sounds like a fucking bumper sticker or something. I don't speak in bumper stickers typically, or try not to. Um, I mean, you kind of don't see anything. That's what I think the genesis of what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you have no visual hierarchy, then, like, what are you looking at? And if it's a texture, I think it's fine. I've got tons of stuff where it's like I've totally just bumped up the shadows and the blacks and everything so it's more flat just because the shot called for it. Great. But if you want to have something like this, like, I think this is a style in itself. I think kind of the washed out look is interesting. Um, but even with this, I'd argue like it's still kind of shying away from shadows a little bit more than I'd like. I fucked this up. Like to me, the problem with this image specifically is that like these highlights are fucked. Like if I was able to tone those down and retain some information from these lights, like that would be amazing. I think I could then push it darker. But the problem with those always being stuck is like blowouts is like you can't push too hard because it just looks like you just create this super high contrast. And I think this is starting to feel really nice. Like this is probably the realm where I'd like to get it, but for those highlights I can't. This isn't even about this image. I don't know how the fuck I'm talking about this now. But one thing I'll go through quickly how I've gone through some of the film emulation steps in Capture One and kind of where they all fall short. Let me get rid of this. One thing, the last thing I'll say about this, like this speaks to kind of the nice grain that I think that Lightroom has, and some of the softness that you can bring in with some of the negative clarity, some of the negative, I guess it's dehaze. I can't remember. And Lightroom's always like I wrote Lightroom Classic off. I thought as soon as they put Classic in the name, like they're not going to invest, which I think was kind of dumb on my part to assume. But I don't know, like Adobe's just been so ass backwards. Like they created the industry standard for photo editing on like a catalog basis. And they went to some cloud-based consumer fucking Lightroom CC or whatever it is. Like blows my goddamn mind. But to give them credit, like whoever's running the Classic, I think has made some nice steps in terms of adding features. I can't speak to performance. I would hope that this fucking Mac Pro could run Lightroom, but you never know. Yeah, so I think like some of those characteristics are nice. I think the lack of the way that you can kind of control how those are applied is a little frustrating and limiting. So that's where I think Lightroom, it'll get you a good amount of the way there, but if you really want to push things further, I think you've got to look elsewhere. And that's, so I'll quit that. Blow this up a little bit. I'm just covering, so I've got my other just iPad down here. What's going on here? Okay. So some things I would do, and I also just got Capture 121, I think. Yes, Capture 121. I'm torn on whether it's really been worth the, like going the subscription model. I did it contingent on the fact that they're going to keep adding a lot of features, and it's going to be worth investing. Like versus like the one time, like you get that version, you don't get the updates. I was hoping they're going to keep evolving this. I want to keep supporting them. Maybe I end up paying more in the long run, but I'm getting each incremental increase or update. First impression is interesting. I don't know if it's the leap I was hoping for. I think performance is a big hit or a big bump increase. I don't know. Words just need more coffee. Which I have always like ridiculed I get it. I've ridiculed Lightroom for not prioritizing like core competency and performance just for the sake of adding shit, and here I am like overlooking some performance enhancements, kind of saying like, "Hey, they didn't add enough stuff." Like, I get it. I get it. I'm like, it's a nice upgrade, I would say. Is it everything I hoped for? Not quite. I think like if you look on their website, like they don't draw a ton of comparisons between 20 and 21. And I don't even know if they really hit hard on the story of. Let's see if I can get a new window from here without. Who knows what I'm doing? There we go. Capture one. Faster asset management, I guess, is the one thing. Import photos from different folders at once. I guess. I don't know who that's for. This learn thing is just stupid. This is like straight from Adobe. It's like how like they put it in the fucking like I had to take it out of the toolbar. Like how much do you think I need to watch fucking tutorials? Like I don't understand that at all. But the faster asset management, maybe they did speak to it. This is them talking through it. Because especially for me, like navigating this, and these are, I mean, this is high resolution. Fuck. This is high resolution. This is a 6K display. These are rather large images that are being rendered constantly and edited and updated, and like coming in and out of photos, it's been pretty quick. So yeah, I mean, great upgrade, I guess. I always love performance and core competency increases. They have like the quick edit thing, so you can just like push one, and if you like zoom in and out with the color wheel, you can just quickly adjust temperature, which I think is interesting. But this is not anything what this is about. Sorry, I'm very fucking distracted. I really need people here to like keep me in line. So color adjustments, that was something that I was looking at with I wanted to be able to do additional coloring or color work on top. I saw some video of someone talking about color grades on like wanting to do an opacity of the grade that you put on it. And I think this is more for presets, which makes sense. So if you're gonna start, if you edit based or like using a lot of presets, you want to apply it, but you don't want the whole thing, so you kind of want to be able to control the opacity of it. I get it. But if you're like me and you're editing from scratch, like don't fucking bother. Like, long story short, I'm getting rid of all layers. I'm doing one layer on Capture One Edit now, which I think is fine. I was also looking at, I did something what I call global softening. I can't remember exactly what that entails. I believe it's just negative clarity. Yes. So I would do negative 40 clarity, negative 30 structure applied to, I believe the whole, God, it's loud again. No, I did have a luma range on it. So I wouldn't just destroy the shadows, I wouldn't destroy the highlights. It was kind of attacking the midtones. So this is the problem, is like I would do all these luma masks, but I wouldn't really change the range that it's applied to. So it was disproportionate depending on the image, like how much it was being applied. So yeah, and I think like if you start looking at how this idea of global softening works with, I think the luma mask was also to address the issue that I found with using a ton of negative clarity is like if you get into instances of like if you have power lines going across, like I think I've talked about it before, like you have like just ghosting. It just looks like this kind of foggy fucking image and it's gross. So if I did it to the midtones and didn't really do as much with like the shadows or kind of had it like tapering, that helped a little bit. But again, I think it comes down to the crux of the problem is like that much negative clarity is just, it's not intended for that. Um, and what's interesting now is like actually with 21, they also added dehaze, which I was just playing with this morning. Um, in terms of like what it can do. I think I put it in this one. So with this, the issue with negative clarity is that it tends to knock down the highlights and the shadows. So I had to up the exposure. I believe yeah, so I was looking at how I can do like highlights. So getting into like the film emulation of like blowing out and softening the highlights, whatever halation. You can't really do it in here, but softening the highlights is something that I really like about film. So that was something I've always been trying to find a way to do. So, I mean, I did this morning. I think it adds a nice-ish touch. It does start fucking with like how much your highlights. So you get into this like this game of chasing down different adjustments, like, oh, because this image has so much in the highlights, like you've got to change how much you're fucking around with the highlights and the exposure. I don't want that. I really don't. To me, that's not a scalable solution. Um, so, and that kind of applies to everything. So this is the old version of the film highlights. It's really doing the same thing without the like before the dehaze was available in Capture One. Really getting at more of the let's see. I've got my Stream Deck. It's all fucked up right now. Why is it not updating? Okay. So I have all these shortcuts. Show mask. Oh, that doesn't work in here. But again, this is like the universally applied Luma mask, which I think is good in some ways because if the image doesn't really get into some of those ranges, like you shouldn't even have that be an effect on the image. So in some senses it works, in some senses it doesn't. So, although that's really interesting. So if I do the view mask from here, this is what it shows it's affecting, which is a fuck ton more than here. I don't have an answer for this. What, they should be identical. So basically I have like a button that says show mask. I think it's like M is the shortcut. But when I go to Luma range, it's different. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna fucking worry about this. So yeah, so that was trying to do that. I don't think it works. Long story short, all this shit, like, it's gone. I don't, like, to me, this is appropriate for what Capture One is designed to do. And I think dehaze is getting closer, but ultimately, I think I want to push it further. Like, I think what I'm able to do with dehaze is nice. I think this whole like shadow tone is really interesting. How it determines like what the balance is in the shadows. Like it's picking up like this greenish, which I think is accurate. And it's kind of applying that. I don't know exactly how it works, but and I'm probably spending way too much time on this, but I'm just trying to like go through where I've been and kind of what I want to do. And I'm like, so I think getting into Davinci today, I don't know how it scales. That's the one problem. Like Capture One, I can wrap my head around all this stuff. Like it's meant to work on databases like this, but um, not so much with Davinci. Davinci's primarily like a video editing software. Like they want you to be able to pull stills in and kind of have it match, but like it's not like the way you have to export stills to me is weird. It's not through the traditional export. You can, um, which maybe I need to do a little more research on, of like how you export stills through DaVinci. That's not through like grabbing stills. It's like through the delivery. It's I don't know. I gotta look that up. But I guess I should probably just get into it instead of just fucking talking about it so much. I'm sure people's patience, if they are here, is being tested. Because I said, like, hey, like, let's get Davinci Resolve in here. All right, Davinci Resolve. So I'm gonna come back to this image. I want to see, like, because I literally started from this image. I started from scratch yesterday. Like, I saw what so what I showed in the Lightroom is actually what's on my website right now, and I think it might be what's in. Actually, this image isn't in the screensaver TV app right now. So the only way that image is known is from the Lightroom edit. And this is a whole separate issue because I haven't gotten like orders for prints in ages, and I've gotten like 5. And the delta between like what's on my website and what I think represents my interest, ability, whatever you want to call it, is so large that I'm having to send proofs out to people and create this correspondence. And this is also springing some ideas of like what my goals are, like how big, like where do these images need to live? I think the screensaver is always going to be one. The TV app's going to be one. I think the digital presence in high resolution is like always going to be something. But when you get into prints, it's like if I start going down this rabbit hole of film emulation, like how far is too far at the end of the day? Because a lot of what I want to do is like image quality reduction, more grain, get into halations, like a little bit of haze, some glow, that kind of stuff. And I think DaVinci is much more adept at doing that stuff than Capture One. Capture One, like, I don't think a lot of people use Capture One to edit to the way I do, or the way I want to, which is fine. It's just, it's not for me. I wish I didn't have to create a workflow where I'm editing in Capture One and then going to DaVinci. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, yeah, it's almost been a half hour of just bullshitting and kind of getting, again, like, it's cathartic for me to talk this stuff out. So hopefully this is useful. It is for me because I rarely formalize this stuff. I'm just like, I always equate myself to a dog chasing traffic. Like, I just see shit and I just fucking do it. And I don't really have like a clear thought on all that stuff. I rarely have clear thoughts. All right, so I can go through a little bit. I'm still learning. No, fuck you. Why? Oh my god. So when you pull this window up, there's little things about Davinci Resolve that just drive me nuts. Like, now it works. Okay, I'm not even gonna say it. Anyways, see, I always want to go get my keys wrong. So I have my media pool here. So in terms of like importing stuff in, I think there's a process that could work where I export from Capture One as, ideally they should be TIFFs, but I'm not too worried. This is where like I need to start picking a lane. Like if I want to, problems like TIFFs are so big. I'm not strapped for storage, but for this to scale, like I can't have it just being like infinite. Um, but we'll see. Maybe that's like the little nuanced things that like I need to iron out before I start like committing to this path of like what do I need to export from Capture One? Does it need to be TIFFs? How big does it need to be? Like if I'm doing prints, um, is there a way for me to create? So I have my primary like promotional folder, which I think these images are like 3600 by 2400 is what I'm exporting them out as. But that's not going to cut it for print images. I want uncompressed TIFFs for my prints. And I think there's a way of retaining that, but how I keep like the grades, I think is one of the hardest things. So I can pull up, so I think it'd probably be helpful to show kind of what I've been doing, or what I've been achieving so far with approach. I think the softness is much better. It doesn't have a lot of that ghosting around it. Again, a lot of the images I shoot don't have a lot of like super high contrast. So some of like the halation and stuff like that isn't going to be as obvious. Uh-oh. Stream doesn't seem happy. That's good. Oh, clock's still ticking. I think it'll be more obvious in some of these, but just like the general softness, like you're not overwhelmed by information. I think the grain is a little bit nicer in terms of how it's applied. This is getting more into like that 16 millimeter type feel. So hold on, I gotta see if this is actually frozen or not. This is fucked. Well, I don't think it is. Maybe, who knows? Yes, so this is like that 16 millimeter, which I think is perfect for shots like this, like old buildings. I like maybe it's my untrained eye, but like this starts feeling like film to me. I have to reload this. And by this, I'm talking about like the chat. I don't know. But I think like the film grain, the softness, there's not a ton of halation to speak of here. That's something I'm really trying to kind of dial in a little bit. But like this compared to what I'm able to achieve in Capture One, like I've been looking for this for so long. Like this kind of feeling without just like ghosting shit and making it weird. The question is like, how does this scale? And can I make, so the scaling issue is, for me, it's like, what are the file sizes? Or okay, how do I keep the edits is one thing in a way that's manageable. I think there's ways of like these DRX files. I don't quite know how they work. It's something I'm hoping to figure out today. But I mean, to me, it's worth looking into. Of like, this is the feels I want. Does it work for prints? I don't know. This is why I like also was on Instagram talking about like wanting to look at getting a printer so I can see it's like how, like if I start going this 16 millimeter type feel in terms of grain, in terms of softness, like how is that gonna work? And I'm gonna start testing them on the TV app pretty soon here. So if you see some blurry fucking grainy images, like this is why. And everything might move. And this is again another level of that adoption. Like the second I start overwriting or like clearing out the TV app and the screensaver photo bucket, like that's gonna cost me a lot of fucking money because I pay by like how much data is downloaded. And I already have like almost a gig worth of images on there, and that's going out to an ever increasing amount of people. So there are implications to like thinking this through and being thoughtful with it. So I'm just gonna stop. I said that twice already, but I think I mean it. So getting into it, so I'm importing in the JPEGs, I'm putting them in the media pool, and then I am adding them to the timeline. One thing I'm still trying to sort out is I like the idea of having an adjustment clip. So that way I can test it across multiple images easily. You can, so what I am doing, if we go to the right layer, this is something that I found online of, I can't remember, I should be giving credit. This is not my structure. It seems like it's kind of well known as I've talked to people individually who are like, yeah, they saw me posting about film emulation and doing Davinci Resolve, and like, hey, are you doing this? And it was exactly what I was doing, which the bulk of it, so I can walk through what is going on here. So a big piece of this is a plugin called Film Nitrate, which Film Convert Nitrate. I don't know if that's the most recent version or not, but this is huge. This is what lets you do a lot of just like the grain, the image softness. Like this right here is fucking money in the bank to me. I love it. I was learning about another plugin yesterday, which actually also gets into like adding halation and stuff like that as one of these options. Right now, you have to kind of do your own halation, and this is the one area that I think I'm having a lot of issue with, just because it's different depending on the image, which again is something like if I'm looking at scaling, like how do I do this in a way that makes sense? So right now, this is showing the original image. I think this is one of the better examples I've seen in terms of halation. It looks like there is a little bit of like the fringing going on. This is like the image spit out from Capture One. This is the image after running through this process. So you can see like the halation's pretty pronounced. But when you step back, it's really not that much. I think it just adds a nice feel to it. And that's where like I don't want to get too far down where it just becomes a super obvious heavy-handed thing. And I think that's the other part I'm gonna have to take my time with is like I always just go too far. I'm like, oh shit, this is new. Like let's fucking go hard on it. Like, oh, I can, like it was like the negative clarity on I think I started in negative clarity on Lightroom first, and that was like, that just made like these hazy fucking messes of like you couldn't see shit. It's just like this weird haze is applied to everything. You had all this ghosting going on, and I committed to everything. Like I added that to every one of my images, and I uploaded all of them to my website. I had to go redo all of them again once I realized how big of a fuck up I made. So I'm trying not to do that with this. Although I think my eye's getting a little bit better in terms of like what's working, what's not. But yeah, I kind of thought that the last time. So stuff like this where you're really kind of reinventing the wheel a little bit. And to some people, this might not feel like reinventing the wheel. This might feel like I don't know. I don't think there's a ton of people who edit and dive into the details like this. And this is not to pat myself on the back. Like I'm just obsessive. I don't know. I know what I want to get, and I want to find ways to do it. And it's going to take a lot of work and time, but I'm willing to do it, I guess, at the end of the day. And I'm definitely not unique. I always forget his name. It's like Miguel Santana. Let me double check this. Just talking to this guy last night about film emulation. Yeah, Miguel Santana. So he's creating a tool, I believe, called Spectra that's going to do a ton of film emulation type stuff, all baked in, which I think is awesome. Uh-oh. I'm just going through emails at this point. I'm getting some that are interesting. Huh. I ordered a shitload of kombucha. Like, I know I was drinking on here on the stream. There was a holiday deal. Oh my god, it's three. Oh my god. There was a deal for 50% off, and I know I'm gonna drink it, so I just kind of went a little too hard. Maybe it's kind of like my personality in a nutshell. But I ordered 48 bottles of kombucha, and I don't have an external fridge. I don't know where the fuck I'm gonna keep it. But it was half off, man. Like, shit's so expensive. That's a deal. Yeah, Miguel Santana, Spectra. If you don't know, check him out on Instagram. I think it's awesome what he's doing. I didn't care much for what he was doing because I thought he was just selling presets. In some ways, he kind of is, but I think his attention to detail is admirable. I don't know. I don't know where I draw the line with presets. I don't like them. I wish people didn't sell them. I kind of wish he didn't sell it. That's my thing. I love the fact that he's making a tool, but this is me literally talking this out in real time of like, okay, here I am using film convert nitrate. That's someone making a tool for me to go and do these things. I don't know. Mental gymnastics, man. It's just, who the fuck knows with me sometimes. I don't even think I got anywhere with this. So basically, the first thing, this is pulling in the original image. And if you don't know how nodes work, it's basically like, here's your input, here's your output, here's all the shit that's happening in between. It does start getting complex when you start doing like different like layer mixers. I don't know. There's all sorts of mixers. I'm just spacing on it. Serial nodes, composite nodes. I don't know, man. Where's all the different types? Add nodes. Parallel layer. Serial before. That shit. This stuff's like very new to me, so I'm probably going to be speaking out of my ass. And someone's just going to be like, this fucking idiot doesn't know what he's talking about. So let's just get that out of the way. So if something sounds wrong or stupid, probably is. I know. Don't get mad at me for it. So it's going through the film nitrate. So this is mostly for the grain component. I'm looking at how I add in. It's actually not on this one. So one thing I want to do is, so I want to add another film convert. I want to zero everything else out here. So this is giving that softness. Arguably this might need to be before. Okay, actually I don't know. I don't know if it's best to have this before or not. What I'm trying to do is basically isolate. So if I'm thinking about scaling this, like I have my grain settings using film convert nitrate, but I can have another instance of it which applies some of these film stock settings, which I think are super interesting. And so I'm always going to do my grade with Capture One in terms of like getting into the weeds, which honestly, like this is making another like they just. So I have the beta version. They added these new HDR wheels, so there are now fucking six color wheels that adjust. Not adjust. I don't know where I'm looking for. Where else? I don't know. But you have six different color wheels for six different areas of the like addressing different values. So you can get super granular. And I haven't really done a ton to kind of compare like a pure edit in DaVinci. I don't think a pure edit in DaVinci is going to make sense for how I'm doing things right now. And this is kind of where I need to do some soul searching in terms of like what my end goal is. Because if I can do very specific one-offs, like maybe I just dump Capture One at some point. That's kind of crazy talk. I'm nowhere near that point. Because if I want to do like any sort of... No, I could do like batch edits. I don't know. We'll see. So this is film stock. So I'm trying to separate out the instances of like, I want to have kind of consistent grain. I think this is something I'm going to fuck with a little bit. But yeah, so that's not doing anything now. I'm going to get to the whole thing first. So the problem is I'm also working this in multiple different files to see like importing, how all that shit works. Film stock. So with this plugin, I think I've mentioned it before, they have all these different types of film, and it just replicates kind of the color and how it's applied to the different across like the different values of an image. I think it's interesting. I think some of it has some inherent tints. So it's kind of like a nice little addition. Sometimes it helps enhance the mood. Sometimes it just looks like shit. It's one of those things like, it's kind of the wild card to me, like how I used to import into Instagram and I'd still fuck around with like filters. Now that I'm doing a bit more in terms of like having the full gallery and background colors, I don't really have that luxury anymore. But I think it's a nice way because it's not this file, but one of the other ones, like, I think I posted on Instagram of like the trailer going through the redwoods. It just made that feel so much better, and so much of that I think was on like some Fujifilm stock. And again, there's probably like gross things happening in the details that my eye just doesn't catch yet, but I really like it. So having the grain isolated, so using the Super 16. I've been messing around. I think grain settings are still going to need some looking into, especially as it applies to the different places I want these images to live. Like, there was an issue I had with Capture One's grain. I've got beef with both. I've got more beef with Capture One's grain than I do with Lightroom. I think Lightroom has better grain. That's just my personal opinion for what I'm looking for. I know Capture One gets really scientific with how the grain's applied. I don't know. I don't think it's that scientific. I don't know why. Usually there's an overlay. Well, you can have them here too. So you can go so far, like if I want to get really nuanced with like how much grain's applied in the shadows, just different values. I can have that. I don't know why. Oh my god, it's so loud when I do this streaming. So it says it's there, but it's not there. It should be there. I don't know why. But they do have like a nice like curve that you can modify, where you can just, instead of having to just like fuck around with these sliders, and you can kind of get it's basically makes that shape. 6 of one, half a dozen another. Continuing on, so this is where things are getting interesting for me, is like how I create various halation. So again, for me, I think halation, I'm not gonna speak about it in like great technical terms, but it was explained to me actually last night about how light leaks into, or how light enters a film camera and bounces off the back, and it's somehow prone for like a little, I guess, I don't know if it's like just offset of like red, I don't know what, celluloid maybe. So that's where you kind of get this red fringing. I really like that look. I think it harkens to my like for reds in the shadows. But yeah, so the way this is achieved is, so this is a channel mixer, so it blends these two together to then create this output, which again is then fed into the rest of this chain. But the idea being, like how this is being achieved. So this is the curves for this additional channel of what's being added in here. So it really is only applying to the highlights. So you really only see the highlights of the image, because this is generally where halation happens. And then the way to achieve that is they have this blur radius. So you basically just control like how much this blur happens. And like you can go really hard if you want to and have some crazy halations, which, I mean, from afar still looks fucking crazy and I wouldn't do it. But I think you could be a little bit more aggressive with it. Yeah. So that is then being added together and sent back through the channel. I'm looking at different ways of, like, again, targeting highlights, and again, trying to test this across different images. So if I get into like various highlight techniques, I'm looking at glows in the highlights. So what you can do is, so I have it, I mean, these aren't even being touched, so it doesn't matter, I'm turning it off. But it's very much just the highlight range, and I have this kind of long, soft fallout. I don't think there's a way to preview. I'm sure there is a way to show the mask here, or like kind of what this node is doing. But yeah, I think that is another characteristic of film that I think I'm able to achieve here, which I think is nice, without having to do all that negative dehaze, or negative dehaze, which some of this is like, so this is using their glow parameter, and just like messing with the threshold and the spread. Also looking at different composite modes, like whether it becomes screen. One thing I did notice, so with this halation, typically the composite mode is add, which I think it works much better here. Like you could see how much, like it just knocks out all this detail when I use lighter color, which I don't think anyone ever says to use lighter color, but I'm experimenting with it. I think, sorry, I'm getting used to all these like commands. So you can see some of the halation going on here, which I think is nice. It might be a little heavy-handed. But again, like how far we're zooming in, I don't know. This is where I want to test it on the screen. But if I'm trying to have like a one-size-fits-all sort of approach, this is definitely one of the bottlenecks, is like how it's applied. And so you might be asking, like, well, if it works so well here, why did you even go to lighter color? And I can show you. There's certain images, I don't know if it's just because it has a bunch of red in it, but the red channel starts showing up on top of the image. So if I go back to lighter color, you'll notice that sort of gross banding isn't there. Or not, or like pixelation isn't there. Like the halation's right, but how it's being shown in other areas of the image is not right. So really for me, lighter color is fixing the problem, but it keeps the halation pretty close. I think it gets a little too hard is the problem that I need to figure out. I think the softness of the halation here is much better, but how I rectify that, I don't know. Maybe I need to do a qualifier. So I wonder, can you swap? So you just do like an exclusion. So what if we have width? Because it might just be something with like predominantly red imagery that becomes a problem. I think I want to reset this. Okay. Pick or subtract. I don't want this. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So I think this is interesting. I don't know if it's reset. So you do lose some of like, so I don't know if I just need to go back and increase the radius. No. It is really fucking soft. Narrow the range but make it softer. That help. Don't have, I mean you can see like, fuck. So I'm like, it's command and shift. Like you can't do like a pan around, which is really dumb. All these little things I'm learning about. But you can see like how much it's showing up here, which I'd argue might be a little bit much. So you tone that down. Is this, what is this on add? Gotta be on add, okay. The lighter color still appears to be shown. I want to see. Show Davinci Resolve show affected. No, that's Shift H. Hey, interesting. I don't know what it's telling me. I don't know if it's like a traditional mask of, let's see. Oh shit. What's going on, man? Yeah, so we were just talking about this kind of stuff last night. I was rambling about some of it earlier, walking through kind of where I'm at. But I don't know if I'm curious if you have experience with this of, so I don't know when you just jumped on, but talking about the composite mode and how it was fixing some issues with, I guess if I reset it, I can do this real fast. So reset. So if I have it on add with something with predominantly like a lot of red in it, you get this weird coloration or like pixelation on it. I was messing around with a lighter color, which works pretty well. It still picks up some of that halation to the side, but if I go to a different image, fuck, no, oh my god. If this goes to lighter color, like I needed for the other one, it just like you lose every detail in the shadow. So I don't know if lighter color is the answer. So that's where I'm trying to go through and fix it with some of these qualifiers. So it seems to work if I can get it soft enough. I drop it. I mean, it still seems like it's picking it up, but I don't know if that's the issue that I'm dealing with, is just like having the blurred red channel over stuff that's red. So if I go edit, I mean, it doesn't seem to be causing problems anywhere else. Curve. That's my curve. So we can test some other images here. Middle point more to the left. Let me go back. Oh my god, zoom in. Let's see if I go back. What I'm going to do actually before I start doing this, because I think this is interesting and I think it works from what I can tell. I think it needs more testing. What is going on? It's like 1,000 text messages. Let's see, I want to save this. So I'll just make a copy, my adjustment clip. Call this red fix for now. So if I come back, I'll just reset this, curves, move this over, have the right image on, up. So it seems to make it worse the more I move it up. Take highs up. Am I on the right blend mode? Yes, I am. Yeah, so I think I was looking into like the idea of like adjustment clips. I'm doing it for now. I'm not too worried about performance at the moment. Um, what I will end up doing is, I think, creating power grades and dropping it directly onto the image. I just want to be able to test one thing across multiple clips at this point. Yeah, I think the idea of stills, um, I could go into that too. That's another thing I need to wrap my head around is like, that's the way I've been exporting things. Oh my God. Like for this one, fuck. Sorry, I'm sure this is nauseating to watch. Like for this, so if I go to color, grab still, gallery. So this is where like it gets confusing between like what I'm exporting, because I have to import the style. So I have like this base film emulation, which I'm importing, but then I'm also exporting to the same spot. Yeah, I think that's, so then I'm just exporting. I'm doing JPEGs for now. I think once I get into higher quality stuff, I'll go TIFF. But, okay, date modified. Yeah, so I'm also noticing there's like a little bit of distinction between the saturation levels and color in DaVinci versus the export. It seems a little desaturated, and I'm sure that's something with color profiles. Stills are not like presets, it's all reversible. Huh. So then what's the best way to use, I thought that was like the idea of power grades, like power grades is essentially a still. So if I create, let's say this guy here, I go to color, and then, I mean, it was middle click in what I was shown, but like that's the way I've seen. So it's like you're exporting it, and that's like you can only export stills. You can only export stills from you can only export images from stills unless you want to go. The way I was doing it originally was doing like these TIFFs, but it was giving me 24 of them, so then I had a bunch of extra ones, so it didn't really make sense, and everyone that I can tell exports from the stills. So this kind of gets just like this messy, to me. Oh, there you go. Timeline. Oh, interesting. Sorry, I'm like trying to keep up with the chat. There's a bit of a delay. Take a still with this window open. So if I have power grid selected, grab still, it sends it to the power grid. Huh. That makes it much more manageable. At least like for me, mentally keeping track and keeping things separated of like, these are the power grades, One thing I wish power grades were universally accessible. So if I create a new project, this is getting messy. No, I want that. Where are my presets? Photos. Load. What? What the fuck is going on? Oh, this is probably painful to watch. No, not that. All these shortcuts are all wrong in my head. So, media pool, edit, add you to the timeline. So this is where I wish power grades was like this. Oh, it is. Oh, shit. Okay. Hot damn. That makes it so much easier in my head to wrap around. So then if I can create power grades kind of for all the variable or various instances that I need, oh, this is super interesting. So then, I hate how long Fusion takes. This is the old one, but yeah, there it is. Interesting. So now, I need to go back. Nope, not one. Sort of the Stream Deck is going to be life-saving. So, let's delete track. So this, I think, is getting to a spot where I don't think this is, I'm gonna delete that. I don't think it's right. This grab still, change label. You can also display any still or power grade and just drag any one node to your current node tree. So the way, I don't know if I'm interpreting that correctly. The way I've been doing it, so let's see, actually I want to turn that off. Go to the color of this. Oh, the pan is so slow. X. Why is this so backwards? I'm sure I'm going to regret this. Isn't there a cleanup? Yeah. Ooh. Much cleaner. So I think this is where I want to start distinguishing between different levels of grain. Where did I? Oh, I have to go back to capture one. So I'm gonna go back to the beginning. So I have this testing, which whatever, get rid of. Nope. Nope. So new project. So if it's a New York shot, so I'm gonna go here. And again, this is Valentina. I know we talked about TIFFs and all that stuff. I'm kind of just doing testing for now of just JPEGs, keeping storage down, knowing quality can be better, I think in the back of my mind. So I'm going to go ahead and export out this JPEG. So I'm going to have my media pool. I don't think I have the right size, do I? Do not. Presets, load. That? No. Yeah. Okay. Let's have my timeline. Throw this in. So this is the grade originally. I do still have Photoshop, sadly. That I think Photoshop's out for me. I love all the control and all the different masking and like all the adjustment layers and how you can apply them, but I can't scale with it. Like if I'm doing high res, storage for me is too expensive with SSDs. It's not ideal. I wish I didn't even have to think about it, but it's kind of the reality, unfortunately. Get rid of gallery. So just dropping this in, it doesn't look too bad. I think effects. I don't know how far I want to push the softness of this. And this is where I'll start looking at like film stock again. I don't know if this is ill-advised having two instances of film nitrate doing two separate things stacked. It seems like the grain component and softness will want to be applied on top of the film stock. So this seems ideal. But again, I'll probably go heavy-handed. Like to me, turn those off for a second so you can see this bigger. So Resolve grain on photos. I really like the grain with film nitrate. So that was something I was playing around with. Let's see, Capture One. I hate Capture One's grain. Like just personally, I don't know why. It never seems like it always feels like it's added on. And I think what, with film nitrate, it feels a little bit more natural, but I don't know if I quite have the settings right. I think some of this stuff, I think the grain size is a little big here. I think it goes back to like what preset I'm using in terms of like 16 millimeter. I think there's, like at scale, at least I'm not totally sure, because I think I posted this on Instagram and I think you could see it, which I think is nice, but I don't know if it's too overwhelming at large size. I don't know. I think just the combination of like the softness and the grain and how that plays together, it doesn't feel as pasted on as Capture One. What looks weird? Are you talking about grain in Resolve? You think grain in Resolve looks weird? See, this is where I don't know tons about each of these. I mean, the feeling that you just like, yeah, it fucks up with a lot of the colors, but maybe it's too warm. And I guess I don't know if I'm going too far with with like destroying and flattening things. But I think that's just kind of where my taste is right now. And see, there's ways like I always hate adding saturation, but some of the destructive methods kind of require the addition of saturation. Um, so grain in Photoshop, the way I always went about it was adding noise and then doing an opacity and doing, I think soft light like 30%. And then I got into weird things with like, if you want to control the grain size, you can scale up to create like a full canvas noise layer. I'd scale it up 300%. I would then sharpen it and then start fucking around with like how it's applied, um, which I think kind of worked. It still didn't feel as native as the grain here. Like there's a lot of grain, and I mean, it might be a little bit too big. I think this is already looking better, like 8.2. But to me, like how it applies to the like the tonal range, I think just it feels right to my eye at least. Um, yeah. Can I break this? Yeah. So that's the original. That's where it's at. I think maybe the film stock's a little heavy-handed. I'm still learning the difference between like the Luma and the Chroma. I mean, this applies to like almost all sliders. I have a tenuous grasp of like what they do. I'll just look at it and know if I like it or not, and that's kind of how I decide things. I'm sure there's got to be a better way of, like, instead of breaking this. Maybe it's too soft. Oh, the camera raw. Yeah, I never use that in Photoshop. Actually, I just know like when I exported TIFFs and I wanted to open it in Photoshop, it pulled up that prompt, and I didn't like it. I don't know why. I just couldn't get myself to stick with it. Um, so I have my highlights. So these are all like bad. I haven't cracked like the highlights in a way that makes sense too. Like trying to add a little haze to, I guess it's gone now. Bit soft. See, already learning the shortcuts. Dude, it's weird if this is global blend. What am I looking for? items. Yeah. Send me over the what you can get in the raw editor. I'd be curious to know kind of what the difference is. I don't know if my workflow can handle another step. It probably needs to. But I think this gets to an interesting stopping point of oh, so this actually, this elation is not really showing up. Stop it. Why did that go off? Okay. Looks like I activated some view mode I don't know how to get out of. What the fuck just happened? Huh. I don't know. But a big part of this is, so I think it's good having figured out the power grade. I think having that separate makes it doable. But what is the workflow for exporting and managing? So I can copy the file name, stills, grab still. No. Oh, what? Change label. So then if I have the label, why? Nope, don't want to do that. Okay. Why? I don't know why, but whatever I'm copying from that file name over here, it's, I don't know what format it's in. That's going to be a really annoying step if that's, or you just can't paste in here. This is going to be really fucking annoying. Okay, whatever. Export out as untitled. There it is. You can paste it here, at least. Import wallpapers, processed, RX. No, okay. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing that fucking sound. So yeah, I saw your Insta DM. I'm just trying to wrap my head around this because this is kind of a big bottleneck for me. Let's create a new doc. Oh, not a new folder. Whatever. Project 1. Project settings, presets, load. Let's say this is my media pool. So I'm thinking if I ever want to go back, I have this, I can bring the JPEG from Capture 1 back in. Go to color. I mean, I have my power grade, but can I import wallpapers, DRX? I can. Oh, fuck. This could work. All right. Felix, what's going on, man? There's actually people here. Holy shit. All right, so yeah, Valentino, I'm gonna check that DM in a second. I think the biggest thing for me that I'm very happy about is it'll take a little extra structure, but being able to have the original JPEG and then exporting out the individual grade and then just always keeping those together. It makes it a little messy. I don't know, because right now, this is like my Davinci process folder. Right now I have everything in a wallpapers folder, and this is how I track everything that I've uploaded to the screensaver. But if I have to have the grade, I mean, maybe grades just go in a different folder. So it almost changes everything. So if I just have like an assets folder and a grade folder and an output folder, that could work. Huh. All right, I'm gonna check that DM. Let's see. Three different types of grain. I don't know if I'm doing it any justice by looking on my phone. Let's see if I can copy link. I love the. Yes, I can. Let's go. I don't know which ones. I mean, I really like the grain on this. I wonder if it's doing like if it's like downsampled. Can I download all? Yes, I can. Preview's always such dog shit. Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, this is so much. Yeah, there's a lot of downsampling on the web version. So this kind of looks. This looks like the grain I usually get in Photoshop. This looks much nicer In my, like, for my personal taste, I think this looks a lot more natural. I think this looks a little, I guess it doesn't, maybe a little added on, but not really. Oh, going heavy with the grain. This looks natural too in my eyes. Maybe a little. I mean, this is all totally subjective. Like, yeah, I think it's probably just the image type of having these large. I don't know if I have VLC. I don't. Whoops. Preview seems to be doing okay. I don't know if I can. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Oh, damn, you sent high res. I mean, this feels really nice. This is an amazing image, by the way, man. Yeah, VLC is free. I'm just trying to like strip out all of the apps I don't need, and I'm slowly getting more and more. I'll probably get it at some point. I'm gonna need it now that I'm doing video a bit more. But yeah, this looks great, man. I mean, it's wild to see the range. I didn't know that there was this sort of range with the grain you could add in Photoshop. Yeah, I can't. Can't add another step. I think what I'm most happy about, I think is what just kind of got ironed out, is creating these grades. Having the power grades is like the base. Having this accessible across all files. And then not really having color accurate, yeah. I think I need to get that, because preview is just, it's such a wild card. I don't know how it's going to render shit half the time. Yeah. I don't know what I was going to say. Yeah, power grade, having different types, having like a 16 millimeter version, having like, I don't know if it's 8, just different levels of grain, I think is something that I can access. And I'm sure there's going to be different parameters, like just as I was finding with, what's it called? Let's see. One of the other images I was working with, don't save. So this is where I was like doing multiple adjustment clips on top of each other, but I think I kind of fixed this. So this is the original. I think I posted this on Instagram the other day, but I mean, there's a lot more feels, and I don't know if it's like just being dark, but I think just like the tonality and the way colors applied, it is kind of removing some of the red in the shadows, which I don't know if I like as much. But so like, let's get rid of this, go to color, have my power grade, open up the nodes. Wait a minute. There was, yeah, what? Huh. Yeah, wait, what the fuck just happened? So what I don't get, like what I'm confused by right now is why applying this like this preview is closer to what I want than this. I don't get it. I know there's saturation being added somewhere in here, which I don't know if that's good. Glow. So highlight glow is not doing a ton right now. Get rid of gallery. Full screen. What is this? I don't know what that's about. This is the film stock, so this is not even active. Effects. I always like the Fuji 100. Shift D overall before. Oh my god, you read my mind. Wait. Did you? Shift D. Oh, you did. Yep. So this is another thing I'm gonna want to do. So this is the Stream Deck. I don't know what all is being shown. If you don't know, I've been messing around with this thing forever. Well, not forever, but I think it's insanely useful to be able to program all this stuff. So I'm still new to Davinci in terms of like what I want to do. And a lot of this stuff, sure, it's pretty accessible, but I think for me, it's just remembering all of these key commands. Like, I'm just not going to do it. So all the apps that I have right now are like Capture One, Ableton, Sketch, Slobs, or Streamlabs, Photoshop, After Effects, Davinci Resolve, and I'm working through like icon packs, basically how you represent different like sounds, commands, something that's like universally accessible. But I mean, the one that's probably got the most promise to me in terms of workflow is just Sketch, and it's like how deep you can go down. I know this is not on topic, but like I can run one command that does all of this shit. Or it's like one thing. So for all my Instagram stories, this is like such a departure. But one thing I wanted to be able to do was, so I have like, this is a test, lorem ipsum. So I can literally copy that. I would do this on the Stream Deck, but I have this sort of like sharing, and then I have this Instatext large. So I have it selected. I push that Instatext large, creates a new document, adds it to that. Ideally, this would be one step, but then I have different layouts I can use. I need to refine it, but then over here I have like a send to phone button. So that does a lot of things like making things, like making this exportable, exporting it, opening up an AirDrop window. It's really, yeah, it's just macros. It's stuff like you can do in Photoshop in terms of creating actions, and you can create droplets. But I think what's nice about this is like you can go across different applications. So for me, it's like, it's always like, oh, I've got to open up a new window. I've got to go to AirDrop. Like doing this tons of times, like it just adds up. So it's not bulletproof. Like there's something in the process that just broke now. And the thing is like I'm trying to be productive while doing this. And it's also like I can just always open up my display settings. So if I go between different profiles, I can access that. It's just Yeah, I'm obsessed with it. But I'm gonna come out with a bunch of different packs. I guess I can. Yeah, it's not. Well, gonna be working on a couple different versions with some other people too. So I think there'll be more to talk about there. Davinci. So I think I'm gonna keep the gallery. So I have my stills. Yeah. So if I grab a still, export. It'd be really nice if I could just copy and paste. I don't get it. Is it like nowhere? Why? Why? So I can do it if I click the file from here. It's such a pain. This is the kind of dumb problems. But yeah, I'm obsessed with those macros. I think I've like bored people to tears talking about the potential of it, but I think if you work across a lot of applications and like one, just forgetting all the keys is one thing. Remembering the keys to very simple functionality is one thing, but having like deep things and like these nested layers, which are like all these fucking claw grips to make work, like it's doable, but it's just too unrealistic for me at the end of the day. So yeah, it's recommendation for Resolve to get rid of all the adjustment layers, rearrange node structure and stills. Yeah, I think having these power grades, I think for me it's going to be just really getting this dialed in and testing it across everything. Of having just like several baselines, like I was talking about. So getting into the grain function. I don't know if you have any thoughts on like having two instances of film nitrate, one that's isolated to the grain and then one that's specifically into film stock if I do want to add it, or the order of operations. I know one person put the grain before the halation. That seems to be the trick. And I saw him add like a mat to it, so like the halation bleeds over the matting, which I think is nice. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but yeah. And then adding like the glow and the haze at the end. I don't know if that's another thing that should be pre-grain. So the order of operations here for me is something I'm kind of curious about. And I just don't know if it requires testing. Or kind of what the best way to go about it is. It's so close to being good. Like it needs the extra width. Is that what's going on here? Yeah. I'm never gonna have a fucking node window this wide. I guess I could. I'm gonna be right back. Gotta use the bathroom right quick. Yeah, I still got my stupid audio on this thing, the drum loop I made or whatever. So I just don't know how to turn it off. Be right back.